Hey everyone, so today we'll be talking about what top colleges really look for within your application, okay? And whether you have questions about what extracurriculars to pursue, how you should write your essays, all that, and all the killer tips for those, this video will help you answer those questions, okay? So, the first thing we're going to talk about is a common myth, and that common myth is that you need to have a spike or a theme within your application. A spike or theme does help. And if you don't know what a spike is, it's essentially deep accomplishment in and or knowledge of a particular field. Okay, and the problem with that is there's a lot of fierce competition. So if you really make yourself one-dimensional like that, you're going to have a bunch of other applicants just like you. So in your attempt to try and not be well-rounded, you're going to end up making it even harder for yourself to differentiate yourself because your spike can be outspiked by other people, right? You can accomplish great things, but there's always going to be somebody out there who's accomplished even greater things. So you can't try and outwork people in that magnitude unless, here are the couple exceptions, you're a recruited athlete, right, which most people are not. You're a part of the few very hyper-competitive programs like RSI. There's limited seats for that, and for the average viewer, that is just not something that's attainable. Or you've reached some international level academic competition like IMO. Okay, just like anything that's like world-class achievements, I mean, that's just not super attainable or realistic. So the bottom line here is that you do not need a single passion. Neither do you need to be well-rounded to get into a top college. Okay, it's not an either-or situation. It's something different. And the something different we will talk about. But first, I just want to talk about the general themes that colleges want to see within your application. And these are like the basic things you might see on other, videos on YouTube. The first thing is academic rigor, okay? You need to understand colleges are academic institutions first, okay? They need to ensure that you can handle their rigor of coursework and as well as your ability to challenge yourself and all that, okay? So basically, getting good grades and maybe test scores. I'm not going to give any harsh cutoff numbers because those don't really exist. Correlation's not causation, all that, but basically just keep your grades up, and for most of you, you should be in good standing for that. The next thing is, well, honestly, the next two things are quite subjective, and what I really want to focus on is crafting a strong narrative, right? So that's where you have to connect your activities to your goals and values, and institutional fit, right? You have to show how you'll thrive and contribute to the school. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people say you need a strong narrative and institutional fit, but that's like saying, oh, you want a high test score? Just get a 1500 SAT, which is like you don't tell them the steps in between to get there, and that's kind of scummy. But we're going to tell you how to get there. And how do you get there? Well, it's to understand what colleges want from a more complex perspective, okay? In that complex perspective is understanding the core value every single college preaches. Every single selective college preaches this as well. And that's the idea of intellectualism. And how you can show intellectualism is through the 5 C's. Okay? The 5 C's are curiosity, competence, communication, context awareness, and critical thinking. Okay? And why is this important? Well, because you want to show your intellectual depth, your versatility to adapt, and your readiness for these top colleges. Okay? And that's all, honestly, all this is super broad as well. And that's why I'm going to have individual slides explaining it, different examples and all that, just to be as actionable as possible. Now, before we get into that, here's a quick disclaimer. The rest of these slides are not like the definitive list of the best extracurricular activities to do or practices. They're more so to show you how a student can take these principles and apply it to themselves. So because everybody's different on their journey, thing is you have to look at yourself as a person and do some reflection. Okay, if you're applying to college in a month, right, you do not have time to start something that's groundbreaking. So you need to reflect on your current activities and then really tinker it and tinker with the way that you're able to market yourself or display yourself, right, to admissions officers. If you're an underclassman where you have a little more time, then the activities you start is going to be super important, right? Not only do you have to be quote unquote passionate, but make sure you hit the 5 points that I'm going to be talking about within these 5 C's, okay? So, like we talked about before, new activities, ask yourself, does it align with your interests? Can it showcase your 5 C's, which we'll talk about? And here's another key reminder before we get into all this is try and be human with your application. The thing with these colleges is they want excellence, but not perfection, right? It's a weird line to draw. Basically, it's like saying they want creativity, but also academic excellence, which kind of, because academic excellence a lot of times sacrifices creativity. So it's a very fine line, and you have to show that you're someone who's able to balance that, okay? Let's get into the first C, and that is curiosity. So curiosity is basically just the drive to explore and understand topics beyond the classroom, okay? And the first thing that pops in your mind is extracurricular activities, okay? And that matters because colleges basically want to see, okay, besides being a student, which a lot of, every applicant is, so you're not going to differentiate yourself on that basis. They want to see whether you're a self-motivated learner who can embrace innovation and inquiry and all that, good stuff. So what are some ways that you can show it, right? And again, these aren't like, oh, you gotta go do this and this. Just take these as examples and then reflect on your own activities and how you can show these 5 C's. Okay, so you can show curiosity maybe from reading books, right? Maybe that's not an extracurricular activity, but that's just something you want to think about how you can apply that to your own application. Curiosity can also be shown from just taking online courses, getting certifications, doing your own independent research, or maybe even competitions. There's a lot of ways you can show curiosity. The next thing is competence. And honestly, competence is just like how good you are at something, okay? And what it is mastery and proven skill in an academic or extracurricular pursuit, okay? The thing with this is that the reason it exists is because, and it sounds scummy because it's kind of like, you're either good or you're bad. And that's not the case, but the problem is if everybody can just try something and do something and be recognized for it, then how do they differentiate between applicants, right? Not everybody can be the tippity top, okay? You have to identify your unfair advantage, right? Everybody's inherently better at something than somebody else, okay? And you just have to find what that something is for you. It matters because it demonstrates your potential to excel in a college setting and beyond, okay? Basically, if you're someone who can accomplish great things, it looks good for that college as well in the public eye. How do you show it? Well, the first thing that pretty much pops in your mind is earning recognition through medals, competitions to get awards, maybe even research, publications, certifications, all that stuff. Maybe you work in a challenging setting, like going into summer programs or getting an internship. And so all these are different ways you can show competence. Now, guys, we're trying to hit 10K subscribers by the end of the school year. So if this video has helped you so far, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. Okay, help us out. It'd be greatly appreciated. But anyways, let's go on to the next C, communication. It's basically your ability to express ideas effectively and collaborate with others, okay? And communication is like largely, perceived by admissions officers through your essays, but your extracurriculars can also show that as well. It matters because, if you're in college, your success really depends on the ability for you to communicate with people. You need really strong writing skills, and you're going to be collaborating with your peers a lot. And so the activities that you might see in this category are things like Model UN, super common debate, maybe student government, or maybe you're like a journalist, right? You write articles, essays, blogs that explore the complex issues within your own field of interest. You tutor kids, or you maybe present at local or national events. All these things really show communication. Next one, context awareness. And I would say context awareness is like one of the core things that gets overlooked a lot, okay? So basically, context awareness is understanding how your passions connect with the larger disciplines and real world problems, okay? And this is the big space where colleges are able to identify whether you're truly passionate about something, versus if you're just doing something for college, okay? It matters because they want students who are able to express their ideas in the real world, right? Be able to identify, okay, this is the issue, this is what I'm doing, and I can, make a solution for it. All that good stuff. So how do you show context awareness? This one's a little more subjective, okay? And there's no activity to do, but you can combine your different disciplines or interests, right? So if you like biology and art, maybe combine that in a science project or something. You can also link your extracurriculars to more broad issues, like if you are interested in technology, but are also recognizing the issue of climate change, maybe design something like the energy efficient prototype to combat climate change or something. But mostly in your essays or maybe your projects, you want to highlight your diverse perspective and your openness to showing all that. And basically how your accomplishments and your ideas and your potential is able to make a real world impact on the issues that we currently have and be very forward looking at the same time. Okay. So the next C is critical thinking. This is basically where you're able to explore alternatives, synthesize new ideas and all that good stuff. It matters because it shows your intellectual maturity, okay? And you're able to problem solve, whether that be through your extracurriculars or if there's an experience you want to talk about in your essays, then you're able to engage with that, right? You're able to convey your solutions across those disciplines. You can see how all the C's are sort of tied together, right? So this one kind of builds off of the context awareness, your critical thinking to solve the issues that you're aware of from the context awareness. So whether that be questioning the practices within your field of interest, using your essays to reflect on the lessons of failures or maybe ethical dilemmas you might have had. But you also want to highlight the good side, the innovative solutions that you've either proposed or implemented through your various works. A lot of things can classify within this category. But overall, as long as you're hitting the points in the next slide for extracurriculars, and I'm also going to talk about essays, you should be good to go. So this is like a quick summary, okay? So for each extracurricular, you should make sure that it is clear about the authenticity, okay? Make sure it's clear that it's something you're clearly passionate about. You're not just doing it for college. And this should be supported by tangible evidence of your involvement, okay? You also should have demonstrated growth, okay? Both in personal development, okay? And how you've also impacted others. Next is a sense of purpose. Okay, this is super important. Okay, why does this activity matter to you, and how does it connect to sort of the broader goals or interests that you have? The next thing is specific outcomes and also contributions that you made. Okay, so whether that be the number of projects you completed, the leadership roles, the insights gained, right? More the number of things in the description of your extracurricular, and more of the insights you've gained in those supplemental essays and all that good stuff. Now, the next thing is your ability to reflect. Okay, this is super important as well. I would say that reflection is sort of the key for you during this application process, okay? Being able to reflect on your experiences thoughtfully within each of these extracurriculars and your experiences, and then connecting it to the bigger picture of your education and your life goes back to that context awareness, okay? So if you're aware of that and you're reflecting on that and you're showing that to admissions officers, you're answering that question for them, okay? Because they're coming in with the question about, okay, is this student showing their awareness of society? Okay, are they going to contribute to the world? And you're going to answer that question and make it super easy for them. Okay, so it should be clear to you and clear to the admissions officers. Okay. Next thing, we're going to talk about essays. How do the 5 C's apply to the essays? Now, this is I have 2 slides for this, so let's just get right into it. Okay, so your final goal is to make your admissions officer advocate for you. Okay, you want them to think, this kid deserves to be here. This kid won't drop out. This kid will actually contribute something unique. And personally, I want this kid to go here, right? You want them to really like you, okay? Because they're the one reading your admissions file and then, advocating for you or denying you to that admissions committee, okay? And so if you're able to really connect with them on a human level, even though it's super hard through words and through text and all that, then you're able to really make their job easier, okay? Because at the end of the day, they want brilliant students. They want exceptional students. They want unique students. They want creative students, right? They're trying to make a student body of people with different interests. And if you can show that you're a part of that and you would be a good fit, then you check that criteria. Now, how do you do that? We need to create personal charisma, okay? So you're not going to stand out by having a perfect SAT score and perfect GPA, right? Those are factors that are really subjective. I don't really like using that word because you would think those are really objective things. But in the grand scheme of selective college admissions, GPA is not really standardized, right? You can have two different teachers at a school with different grading systems, and your SAT score is really, really subject to if you got paid tutoring or if you've got a different background or different access to resources. So all that is evaluated within context. And so that's not going to make you stand out in any way. Instead, it's going to be your personal qualities, which is one of the biggest factors as well for admissions, is showing positive personal qualities. The only reason I didn't mention this earlier is because that's super, super vague, right? Positive personal qualities is something that you do want to show. But how do you show that? Well, you show that through the 5 C's, okay? It's no longer just show positive personal qualities. It's show the 5 C's to make yourself show the personal qualities, okay? Also, avoid the trauma trap, okay? It's not a place to like vent or, show unprocessed issues. You need to focus on growth if you focus on challenges, okay? So if you have a challenge, what I recommend is 15 to 20% of your essays should be, the context, explain what the situation is, explain the challenge. But 80% of it should be like how you overcome from it and how you've grown from it, okay? It doesn't need to be this beautiful essay about, a beautiful essay in terms of language and diction. That's not what they want, okay? Everyone has access to AI these days in a thesaurus, okay? So it's more about your own self-reflection, okay? That human self-reflection that no AI can do for you. It's just you and your own brain, okay? Next thing is be specific, man. Just use vivid, specific details, anecdotes, really grounded, that's detailed, that's specific to you. You want to make your experiences also relatable and memorable, okay? Because if you can be memorable, that makes the final goal of admissions officers advocating for you so much easier. Read that one essay where you just can't forget that kid, and you're like, who should I really, preach for to the committee? Well, it's going to be that student. Let's talk about a couple other things, implications for essays. Be true to yourself, okay? If you're able to understand who you are at your core authentically, okay, it's going to be so much easier for you to write about yourself, okay? Not just what you've overcome, because nobody wants to read a narrative, okay? Because everybody has their challenges, okay? Everybody has their woes and all that, but you need to show how you've overcome that and how you've grown and all the positive things you've learned from it and how you're going to contribute to their campus. Research the school, okay? Just don't chase just prestige, okay? You need to understand the actual school's values and demonstrate how you're a match for their community, okay? So do your research, really know what you're getting yourself into. Resolve in your essays. This sort of ties back to not just trauma dumping. So if you do have a challenge, don't end your essay on a cliffhanger about like, oh, I have a challenge and now I'm just living life. That's not what you want to do, okay? You have a challenge, but you need to show them how you've grown from it, how you've conquered the challenges. Don't leave it on a bad or unresolved note. Just showcase your growth, as always, with a really strong ending, right? You can have a super strong essay, but if the ending is like mediocre, like meh, they're not going to remember you. Make your application stand out. And how do you do that? Don't be generic, okay? Now you can have a generic topic, but here's the most memorable thing. If you have a generic topic, but you're able to spin it into something special, that is the most memorable essay. Usually it's easier to write an essay about something that's unique to you, about your personal experience that nobody else has written about. That's the easy route. If you want to take some risk, then maybe go with the first route. But you want to really add value to your application, right? Don't make your essay something that hinders you, okay? So that's why you want personal anecdotes and reflection. There's a lot of ways that you can go wrong by trying to fit a certain mold or criteria. But if you're just true to yourself and you follow these principles, you'll be fine. It'll be something that adds to your application, okay? Don't overthink it. We're going to be talking about killer tips, okay? These are sort of what I believe to be X factors, okay? So first off, you have to understand that the harsh truth is that outcomes and achievements in admissions matter more than passion alone, okay? Because it's sort of like having someone that just talks about all the things they're going to do but never does it. They don't want that kind of student, okay? You can't say, oh, I enjoy this and I love this and I'm going to do this if you haven't shown, your steps and your potential to do those things. So outcome plus achievements plus passion is better than outcome and achievement, but that's better than just passion alone without outcome and achievement. What exactly are these killer tips or X factors, okay? The first one is position yourself to the admissions committee as someone who's already successful, okay? So you need to start embodying the qualities and actions of the person you will be after graduation. So if you have something in mind as your goal, what would that person do, right? Start just living life like that person instead of being like, oh, I gotta go to this school and then I gotta do this before I can do something like that. Okay, stop waiting for the right moment. Show the schools that you're already well on your way to that point and that they are just pretty much like the stepping stone, right? So they'll be like, oh, I got this brilliant kid. I just gotta accept them and they're gonna be on their way to success. Make it clear that you're gonna excel with or without their institutions. This is super important. It's pretty much like dependency, okay? If you're like, oh, like I really want to go to your institution because if I don't go, I'm not gonna be able to do this. That's like top tier glazing. We don't want that, okay? Basically, just show yourself. This pretty much goes with the first point. You can be successful without them. So that's why they should also admit you, okay? You should also use college like a tool, okay? Don't address this directly, like state it like this, but you want to pretty much be specific about how you're going to use their resources to accelerate your career, not reach it, okay? Or your career and goals. So if you say that, oh, I'm going to reach my goals by going to your college, that's super vague, okay? Be more specific. Talk about the specific programs, clubs that they have, and offerings that are truly unique to them because you're a truly unique person and you're going to a truly unique college, okay? Ties back to just doing your research and treating college like a tool, right? Stop putting college on a pedestal, okay? Because the more you put college on a pedestal, the more you're going to be not positioning yourself as being successful because you think that the college is better than you, okay? But that's not the case. Ask yourself questions, a lot of questions. I mean, just reflection. I mean, if you take like 5 minutes before you go to sleep and just ask yourself how you embody the 5 C's, your true values and qualities, that should really, help you answer those questions because those aren't easy questions to answer within 10, 15 minutes or anything like that. It really requires some time to boil down, and some people never answer those questions truly for themselves within their entire life, okay? So it's just being really self-conscious about that. Another thing is try and build systems of learning, right? Going back to the curiosity part, where you're able to learn something every single day, and then maybe that's something you can advocate for in your application. Maybe it's not something explicitly, but the skills you learn from that will definitely translate over to building a really cohesive application. Another thing is, I'm not going to talk too much about this right now, but for your extracurriculars, try and create systems for them. Basically what this boils down to is if you have too many activities where you have to be present in order for that extracurricular to sort of make an impact, then you're going to get burnt out eventually, okay? You have a limited amount of energy, so you can't be spending it all on these really high, intensive, low return things. The last killer tip is being able to identify the unfair advantage that you have ASAP, okay? Whether that be skills or unique experiences that only you have. These are things that not only you could talk about in your application, but you can utilize to create new extracurriculars, opportunities for yourself, or maybe build skills that you can use again for your application, okay? So it's all about creating that cohesive nature, all about using all those skills to embody the 5 C's and ultimately create that winning application that missions colleges, what does that mean? Okay, missions officers and top colleges are looking for. So that concludes the video, guys. If you want to learn about how to write the best extracurricular description, make sure you click that video in the left. And if you don't want to choke and save your college application in just 6 minutes, click that video on the right. And of course, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.